Hi, everyone. Welcome to the In League podcast, powered by She Scores. I'm your co-host, Kat Pitré.
And I'm John, here as always. We got a really fun guest on the show. 7-year WNBA player, 3 seasons with the Washington, 3 seasons with New York, now with the Phoenix Mercury, coming into year 2. The 7th overall draft pick of the 2014 WNBA draft. A personal friend of mine, UConn legend, Bria Hartley. Welcome to In League podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So Bria, how have you been?
I've been good. Really just like I was in Minnesota for a bit, had my surgeries there. Had like 3 surgeries, I guess, in the last 5 months. And then just like a month ago, I've moved to Phoenix just to continue my rehab, just able to get like a little more like individual attention here with the team staff. So just been doing that.
How is having an injury and COVID, has it been a little bit harder in terms of like doing your PT? Because there is like restrictions, I guess, in terms of when you could come in, what time is most appropriate, things like that.
Well, I will say Arizona like doesn't care, so everything's like pretty open here. But one of the difficulties is that we share a practice facility with like the NBA with the Phoenix Suns. So their protocol is pretty strict. So it's been like we haven't been able to get into the practice facility or things like that. So it's like it's a brand new practice facility. They have like the Alter G or Boost treadmill, the Aqua treadmill. So that stuff that's kind of like would really help with my rehab. So we're not able to do that. But I mean, we found like other alternatives and other like Exos is a really big place here. They have the Boost treadmill. So I'm able to go there and do some of that and just still able to get my rehab. It's just a lot more moving around at different locations. But definitely been able to get it done. I mean, my main priority is just my rehab right now, so I don't really have much else to do. So it's not like it's really like inconvenient for me right now. So just kind of going with the flow, figuring it out, just like anybody in these COVID times.
Yeah, I feel like the sun is probably also a nice change from Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah, so honestly, I like went out to Minnesota like last March. That was my first time there for an extended period of time. Like I literally only would play there for WNBA. I loved it. But when you're there from like March to like July, it's pretty chill. Then I went to the bubble, came back. September was still kind of nice. Then once it starts to get cold, it's like, oh no. Like I grew up in New York, so I know the winters, but like the winters are not like Minnesota's different.
So I feel that. I'm in the Midwest right now, and it's like taking your car out of the snow. It's like the whole new beast.
I mean, in Minnesota, I didn't have a car. Like I thought about bringing my car out there, but then I was getting all these surgeries, so it was like I can't even drive or really move around like that. So digging out the snow, I didn't have many of those issues, but it just was very, very cold. You did not want to go outside, even to like walk across the street to like the grocery store. I was like, why is it so cold?
I feel like this is a good time to like bring in the hoodie that you're wearing.
Oh yeah,
because you gotta bundle up in the snow. We gotta hype the brand.
One of my posts was actually like, mask and all Hart hoodies are required now. So get the all Hart hoodies. I have all Hart t-shirts out right now. 2 different all Hart hoodies, and then we actually have 2 different all Hart sweatsuits. And the sweatsuits, I will say, they're very like the material's so nice. Like you'll be like, oh wow, these like feel really, really good, almost like a Nike Tech. So even me, I'm big on like material and stuff. So even sampling them, I'm like, this is a really nice material. So like those hoodies and those sweatsuits, definitely go check them out.
So what was the motivation behind All Hart? So
I mean, I have so many ideas behind All Hart. So generally it starts with kind of like, mine was like an AAU program. I had like Bria Hartley Elite. And then it's just kind of All Hart to back that. Still kind of in the beginning stages is eventually, probably more so for when I'm like towards the end of my career, like still playing, but towards the end, like setting up different camps and clinics. I would have liked to get them started a little bit sooner, but I feel like it's just difficult because in the summer I'm in season, so it's hard to do something like that. And then I'm playing overseas, so like, you know, when you set up something like that, especially in the beginning, you want to make sure you're present. So it was just hard to do that and be present. So my whole theme is just like all Hart basketball. So like the clinics, when I hopefully get them started, it'll be like all Hart basketball clinic, all Hart summer camps and different things like that. And then going into my AU program, we'll use Bria Hartley Elite just because like I feel like people will know my name and carry with that. But then they'll rock all like the all Hart gear, some like stuff with Bria Hart Elite, but with the all Hart logo. So that's kind of what's in the works. And then all Hart clothing. I just always been into like fashion and clothing. So like I was like, why not start my own? So you know, it's the beginning and it's kind of you testing the water, see how it goes. But I mean, I love the theme, and it's just like my kind of just like slogan. The motto is like use all your heart in everything you do. So like all Hart, and then my last name is Hartley, so I just felt like it tied in together really well.
I love it.
I mean, is it nice to kind of like have your own like creative kind of escape almost from basketball and, you know, everyday life, and having something like that to focus on?
For sure. I mean, I've always kind of been into fashion. Sportswear is definitely like in my area just because I like to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we have a brand that we can build off of. So I just I love being involved in the process. I love kind of figuring out, like I'm really big, like, you know, some people sell t-shirts and they'll get them like printed and then you wash them a couple times and like fade. So I'm just very big on like, I want to make sure I'm getting like the right t-shirts where it doesn't fade, because like I want to make sure people are also getting like quality stuff. So that's just kind of where I am, and like getting my input on different stuff. So I make sure I sample everything before I put it out there to the market. So I just love being involved in that process, and just kind of, you know, basketball takes up a lot of my time, but I feel like I have other interests, and it kind of allows me to be able to tap into those other interests a little bit more.
I think it's cool too how, like, you know, most people who play in like pro basketball who don't play in like the NBA or like the WNBA or have like a really big contract with one league, they play in a lot of different places. So it's hard to like focus on something like this. It was actually really dope to see that you actually have the time now to put some effort towards something, because now, honestly, I think this is also for other players to see, because I think these are the models you need, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's great what you're doing. I think another question is, obviously, me and Kat in the podcast, we've talked about a lot of things that have been going on, like the overall balance of sports and like some of the things that differ. But we also talk about things that are specific to women in sports that, you know, things are just little real nuances are different. I've had the luxury of watching Bryson a number of times.
Always appreciate it.
That's all right. In Phoenix, I'm back. You know, J-Rob Daycare is back in Phoenix. So for you though, having to take Bryson to so many different places, he's only 4 or 5 now?
He's 4. Just turned 4 in January.
Oh my goodness.
How have you been able to balance doing being also like the pro basketball player? And people don't even know you actually are a France representative of the national team. So it's like, it's a lot. How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people I have 3 jobs. They're all basketball, but they're 3 different jobs. And obviously it's like, okay, you're playing here in WNBA, goes right into the overseas season. Then like overseas, if I was just like an American, you have like European national team break, and all the Americans go home, but then I play with the French national team. So that 1 week that you get home, I'm actually still playing. So like since doing that, it's just been more and more stuff on top of that. But I'm fortunate enough to say, how do I manage it? I literally wing it. I figure it out as I go. I mean, being a parent in general, I think is like an adjustment. And a lot of people like, I know people always want to have it all figured out there, but there's going to be so many different things. Like every child is different. Like there's going to be so many different things that kind of present themselves. And it's like, you've never dealt with it before. So you just have to figure it out as you go. So that's what I do. And then I will say I'm also fortunate enough to have a lot of friends and family who's always kind of stepped up to the plate and helped. Like my parents playing in New York is very convenient. My family was there, so they were able to help. His dad's family was also in New Jersey. They were able to help. Friends, J-Rob, Kia, I'd be like, like some of my friends are in town. I want to go hang out with them. I haven't seen them in a while. Last minute babysitters. They always step up to the plate. My cousin was a very big factor. Multiple friends. Like, I have to shout out De'Erica Hamby because she's found me 2 nannies to go with me overseas. In the bubble, her mom was just like, I didn't have anyone to go to the bubble with me, and I was just overseas. My son stayed with my parents. She offered, was just like, my mom could try to help you out. So like really like big shout out to De'Erica Hamby too, because she's just always been so helpful with that stuff. So honestly, just having different people in different areas being able to help me allowed me to focus like on basketball still, because it's kind of tough in that position because I was still young. So it's like when you're a parent, you kind of have to be unselfish with some stuff. But I feel like to reach my goals, to advance your career, to make the amount of money you want to make, I had to be a little bit more selfish with my time into basketball. So then I needed a lot of people around me that were able to step up and to help. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And I feel like he's loved it. He loves being around the game. Like he loves basketball. And then he was like 8-9 months, and we went to live in Turkey for 8 months. So he's lived in Turkey for like 2 years. I know my first time leaving the country, I was like maybe like 14 years old. So I just feel like he's just able to be more open-minded to different cultures. He lived in different cultures. And I hope that continues, because just in general, in America, I think we're very like just America. Well, just America. We have different cultures, but it's like, oh, America is it. But I think like in America, no one else really speaks, or Americans don't really speak any other languages. And I've played in Europe for years, and I love seeing like, I have Serbian teammates, like, okay, their native language is Serbian, but then they've been living in Turkey for however long. They can speak Turkish, they can speak this language. So that's something I really take pride in. And then I have the French heritage. So unfortunately, I grew up where like the French heritage was like a little more removed because it's my grandmother, and then she married an American. So it was like, we didn't practice the language as much, so it kind of got diluted. But I think with him, I hope that he's able to live there and to be able to learn the language a little bit better.
Yeah.
I feel like there's kind of this expectation or this idea for women in sports, but also in other professional capacities, where there's like this idea of you can have it all, like doing air quotes, or you can't have it all. How do you feel about that? Like, what do you think about it?
I got mixed feelings.
Yeah, it's a complicated one.
Yes,
for sure.
I mean, I think you can definitely strive to come very, very close. Some things are difficult because I feel like basketball definitely takes a lot of my time, but I've missed out on family functions, weddings, stuff like that. So if you feel like missing out on that is not having it all, then technically you can't, because there's a lot of things that you have to sacrifice for basketball. And I feel like I've been sacrificing it since I was 8 years old. Like, I'm always in the summers going on vacations, like never really happened. I'm either going to basketball tournaments, going to different things, like, and always working on basketball. So I think you love it and you love the game that much, so those sacrifices are always worth it. But I don't know if you view that as like kind of having it all and being able to have that other stuff. It's tough. And then like, I feel like relationship wise too, it's like, all right, you're moving here, you're not in one place. Like, depends on who you're dating. It's hard to figure that stuff out. So I think you strive to have it all. I think you go into stuff and you literally just like try to figure out and do the best you can. And that's all you can ever ask for. Because even I'll say, prior to being pregnant, I've had people that were kind of like, oh, you can't play basketball and have a kid. Because like there was always this like negative connotation about female athletes and being pregnant. So that was one of those things. Luckily I grew up with this mentality, like whatever I'm going to do, whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to get it done. So I have that, and like I'm able to have my son and have my career. So in the essence of that, like I definitely do have it all. But it's certain things you just kind of figure it out as you go, certain sacrifices you have to make. And I feel like basketball is worth those sacrifices.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And, I mean, you know, I played sports my entire life outside of just the professional side of it. So, you know, I get it. Like you lose, I do say like for most athletes that have played like who have played in like a collegiate that play were well enough to play like a collegiate level at least, you know that like as a child, you don't really get to do a lot of the same things your friends get to do. You do miss out on a lot early. And I guess that life transitions with you into adulthood because you're still attached to the sport. You can't stop it. But it's funny because ironically enough, I feel like me and Kat spend a lot of time on this podcast trying to debunk the answer to that question. What suggestions could we put out into the sports world that could ultimately like make things, you know, at least so you per se, I guess you gotta put air quotes around it, but have it all, you know. And we kind of came to the conclusion that the only way to kind of get there is like a lot of women in sports are gonna have to like walk so that everybody else could kind of like fly, you know. Like it is going to take that. It's harsh, but I mean, at the end of the day, it does take trailblazing and moments. Like I mean, listen, Renee Montgomery is a minority owner of the Atlanta Dream now. You have a clothing brand. Crap, she is on television. Like there's you know, there's all these ways that that now women in sports are finding their ways, and obviously it sucks that they have to kind of think a little bit more outside the box than somebody who I guess is getting paid $50 million and you could train all year and invest in something and go on a beach and just watch your income come. But these moments are what's going to help the overall betterment of women's sports. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people who are giving that younger generation coming up, giving them a blueprint to be successful and have multiple ways. I do think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, do you feel like in women's basketball specifically, like the first idea is like you have no choice but to go overseas if you really want to do it all the way. And it's like, does it ever feel like there is no, I guess when you first go into your professional basketball career, did it ever feel like I don't have really no other choice, there is no other option before you got to like all Hart and everything else, you know what I'm saying? Prior to that?
No, definitely starting. I feel like you just like look at those before you. And I mean, the market's changed a little bit now, but like if you look back to like when I was in college, or even like in high school, like I was able to travel to Russia, like those girls were going overseas making millions. So it's like, all right, and in the WNBA, you're making at the time maybe max like 109,000. Go get it. Sorry.
This makes for great footage.
The max was like 109,000, and then they're overseas making at least like 30K a month or something like that. It's like I said, it's not the same anymore, but like that's what it was like some people starting. So like you'd be stupid if you didn't go overseas. Like why wouldn't you go over there? You get money like tax-free, you know? So it was just like it made sense. I feel like when I came out though, it was kind of a little more like you can make good money, but you had to work your way up. So, I mean, I feel like I was playing WNBA, and yes, my overseas contract was more, but it wasn't like 6 figures to start. It was like, all right, I played well this year. Then the next year go make a little bit more. The next year go a little bit more. So I get to the point where I'm at and now where it's like, oh, okay, like this is really good money. But then on hindsight too, the market has been changing. The market's been dropping. So it's like, all right, the money was here, and then it's like, oh, it went down a little bit. Then it's like, oh, it's COVID. It went down even more.
Yeah.
So now I think there's a little bit more of a debate of if it's as worth it to go overseas. But I mean, I will say, like, when I was coming out, it was like, nah. I mean, if you want to supplement your income, and then look, I was a top 10 pick. My salary was $45,000 my first year at the WNBA. Yeah. So it's like, why not go overseas and make $80K tax free and, you know, like save it, especially while you're young. Like,
euros at that.
While you're young. So I definitely think it was more so you need to do that. Obviously, the salaries in the WNBA have gone up. At least the max contracts have gone up significantly, almost double or more than double, I think. So that's looking in the right directions, and we hope to continue to build on our league. And we hope that one day down the line, like, it can get to the point where maybe not where the men's league is now, but where the men's league was maybe like when Jordan was playing, like different stuff like that. So you hope to just continue to build in our league. You hope to also like that these opportunities like off court present themselves more, because I feel like the men are able to kind of get more endorsements off the court that also help them. I think on the women's side, you're seeing that a little bit more.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird with the women's league. I feel like when it first launched, you saw a lot of that. And it was just like, oh, everyone's putting this money into the league. It's hot, it's new. Then it kind of took a little dip. And now we're slowly building back up. So I have a lot of faith in our league. I'm a player rep, so I definitely had like a lot of input for this new CBA. I'm proud of what we've been able to do. Obviously, it doesn't answer everything that we want to get done, but like we want to slowly progress. And I feel like we've done that, and we hope to continue that in the future.
That's great. That was great.
I know kind of across the board in the sports world, a lot of people worried that COVID sort of stalled the momentum for a lot of women's sports. We saw it with women's hockey, women's golf, whatever. Where do you kind of see the future of the league going forward? I mean, do you think COVID has really impacted, kind of like the possibilities of the league, at least for a little bit, or kind of what do you think about that?
It's kind of tough to say. I mean, I feel like COVID definitely impacted like how enjoyable our league could be. Because I mean, you're in a bubble where we were kind of stuck in a bubble. Then you think about mental health and all that stuff. Like some people didn't have the greatest experience in the bubble, but and then obviously like the league also lost some money. So it was like certain opportunities that were presented in the new CBA weren't like really. You had to negotiate and be like, all right, well, if we want this to happen, then all right, you don't have to do this, which were like really good opportunities for players in the new CBA. But I mean, that's what negotiations are for. But I think in general, like we just had a new commissioner. I think she's very for women. I think she supports a lot of our ideals, because you'll even see back in, I don't know if it was like 14 or 2016, just from that range, when we were trying to do all these Black Lives Matters initiatives, people got fined in our league. Yeah. Whereas like now we had a whole movement planned, kind of not just with the league, but also, I mean, I have to shout out our players associations. Like we did the work. We were in contact with the right people and tried to get everyone involved on what was like kind of the best way to execute the message that we wanted to present to the rest of the world. And then I think also like, although no one's the biggest fan of the bubble, we were in the bubble, we were all as a league able to be like in like all of us able to meet and be around each other like never before, and try to just figure out what we want to do. We're on TV a little bit more to where like our message was seen and our message was put out there. So like in that scheme of everything, I feel like it benefited us in a little bit of way. Money wise, it might have taken away from us, but as far as our league and just what we stand for, I think it definitely it helped us. And with COVID, money and stuff like that, it'll take time. Like just in general, even with the economy and different things closing down, it might take time to build it back up. But overall, I think we handled it the best way we could.
Actually, just talking about money, I do want to ask you a question. So obviously the WNBA has been, to be honest, like you said, like you even said it before, like y'all were one of the first leagues to even address social injustice as a whole. And I've said it on this podcast with Kat. I think I've said it on my own personal podcast. Like the WNBA deserved like you told us so note from like every other sports league, because you guys were the first. After everything that's transpired in 2020 with George Floyd and, in the NBA, players were, teams were just flat out deciding we're not going to play tonight. Mm-hmm. And ironically enough, like, I get why you're doing it. And as a Black man, like, I strongly stand with you for doing that. But that is also easy for you to do. You know what I'm saying? Because you get paid, your contracts are in millions of dollars. I remember in the WNBA, there was a point where, I forgot which team, but you guys didn't play. They didn't play. I know the league had an entire meeting and figuring out like if we're going to play a season or not. What was that like for you trying to, I guess, were you ever torn between like, should I play? Can I actually decide like not to play? Or was it just like, I don't feel like I even have like the luxury to make that type of decision?
So I feel like I've said this in a previous interview, and it was just like, I'm a single mother. I need to get my paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, not even trying to be funny, but like, if I don't play, then it's what? I'm going without income. And then, I mean, granted, I played and then I got injured. So then, like, I even, like, now I missed out on an overseas contract. So it's like, like, for me, it's like, do I want to play in the bubble? No. Do I wish I had the luxury of maybe like, yeah, I don't want to play, but like, I mean, personally, for like, I think try to make the most amount of money you can while you can still play. So if the league is going, I'm gonna play. Like even I said, I was very kind of just the issue with like, all right, Bryce, I played overseas last year and Bryson stayed home with my parents. So I was away from him for like 6 months, almost, or no, maybe 8 months. So then I'm going into the bubble and it's an option. Like you can bring your kid, but you need to bring someone with you. And then they can't leave, they can't go nowhere, you can't switch. So it's like my issue going overseas is that I couldn't find someone for that extended period of time. Normally in a regular WNBA season, I can have different people fly in, fly out that can help me. You can't do that in the bubble when everyone's being tested and it's COVID.
Right.
So that was actually like really a struggle for me because I'm like, I'm not going into the bubble. Like my son can't come with me. Then also like I could be going overseas again and he doesn't come with me. So that was something that was like, dang, I really need to figure this out because, he's older too. Like he's 3, like, they really aware who's around, everything. Yeah. So it's just like, all right, I want to be around my son. I want to be able to do this. And like I said, shout out to De'Erica. So I was able to figure it out. And not even just De'Erica. I mean, the Phoenix Mercury organization, as far as like dealing with kids, I think does a really good job. One of the things I think that helps is that Sandy's our head coach and she has 2 kids. Right. Julie's an assistant coach. She has 3 kids. So they're a little more understanding. Whereas like I was in New York, I was like the only player with a kid.
Right.
Nothing against males, but like, okay, Bill Lambert had kids, but when like guys have kids, it's different. Like they're not like the nurturer in that instance. So yeah, I feel like that was just a really big factor to me. And I was just like, I'll say with Terry of our Players Association, I was just like, I just need to figure out a way where my son could be with me. So I'll even say like, my boyfriend came into the bubble for like a couple weeks. And then like he plays basketball overseas. So he had some visa stuff he had to do. And at first it was like, if he leaves, they leave. They can't come back. So I was in a bubble majority of the time. It's just me and Bryson. Take him, drop him off at De'Erica with De'Erica's mom. And then it was like, the thing that was kind of so like tough about that is like games were like every other day. Like in a regular season, it's more spread out. So it's like, all right, you have time to rest, you have time to relax. And on top of that, in Phoenix, we played 11 10 p.m. games out of the 22 games. Yeah. So like we're playing at 10 p.m., I'm getting back at 1 a.m., then waking up, going to practice. So, I mean, a lot of that was very difficult, and I feel like I handled it the best way I could. I probably didn't get enough sleep, but I figured it out, and I made it happen. And like I said, I'm the type, if I put my mind to something, I'm gonna just make sure I do it to the best of my ability, and that's what I did.
No, that's what else could you have done, right?
Right.
That's like such a good note to kind of end on as we're starting to wrap up this episode. I want to give you an opportunity to tell us and to tell all of our listeners where they can find you on social media and where they can find All Hart as well.
We need the plug.
Right.
So they can get those sweatsuits.
So, you can follow me on Instagram at Breezy14, Breezy with 3 Y's, 14. And then at All Hart Clothing, you can find all the clothing that I've released so far. Let's keep building it up, especially going into the WNBA season. And then on Twitter, same handle at Breezy with 3 Ys 14. And I just do my part. I'm probably more on Instagram a little bit more. You can see my day-to-day rehab updates, all that stuff. Bryson's crazy self over here, and all my daily posts on Instagram. So just check it out. You can learn a little bit more about me on there.
Bria, we appreciate you coming on In League Podcast. Before I plug the fans and where to reach In League, reach us at, I do want to ask you, Bria, before we go, UConn, but Paige, the team, Aaliyah, Squeaks, Gino is Gino. Just before, real quick, what is UConn? Are you guys going back to glory this year? Is the COVID year the year that UConn returns to the top of the mountain?
I mean, they're definitely
legend yourself, so it's like you know what
they're definitely like in the right direction. Paige has such a bright future. I was fortunate enough to meet her in Minnesota, where she's from. Mm-hmm. Such a great kid, great personality. Future is so bright for her, and I think she has all the tools to lead this team into a national championship. So we hope to see UConn back on top. It's been a little minute for us. We used to win it every other year or every year. Yeah. So I definitely think we could see UConn back on top with a national championship this year.
Ironically enough, you just mentioned Paige. I know we got a little bit of time, but I do want to just get this out. You just mentioned Paige, and she's a freshman playing point guard. You literally were in the same position at one point in your UConn career. And as the point guard, you are the floor general. Being the freshman 18-year-old point guard for the UConn Huskies, if you could give us any insight on what that's like, or what anybody can maybe imagine what Paige Bueckers is going through, I feel like you have the best first-hand glance next to maybe Sue Bird.
One thing I know is that coach is on her every day. Every single day, but he's the type, he gonna make sure he push it out of you. Like, when you have the potential that is through here, his biggest thing is that he wants to make sure his players reach their potential and beyond that. So if you're able to accept his challenges day in and day out and stay motivated and keep striving for greatness, then sky's the limit. And Paige, she has the work ethic. She has the right personality. She's unselfish. So I just think she's definitely gonna take those steps to greatness. And like I said, you've seen it already from her, and it's only her freshman year. So I'm just so excited to watch her career and to watch her just get better and better each year. Because that's good for women's basketball. Yeah. Just continue to build on our sport and to pave the way for the next generation. Because the attendance she got in high school, we didn't get that when I was in high school. So it's so cool to see how it's evolved through the years.
Me and Kat said it too. Me and Kat, we were talking about it. We said in women's sports, the one thing women's sports has to do is you got to thrust your stars to the absolute forefront, and marketability creates other opportunities, and it creates opportunities for the next generation.
Exactly.
With that, Bria, thank you for coming on In League Podcast. For those listening, you can find Kat and I. You can send us an email at inleaguepod@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM at shescores.ca on Instagram.
And you can find all of our...
It's a lot of times. I don't know why I'm acting like I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. And you can find all of our personal details in the description box as well, along with a link to All Hart. Bria, thank you so much. To all of our listeners, thank you so much again. And we will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.